I'm the smartest moron, and hopefully you'll be able to join me when I review Shadow Heart's Covenant. And hopefully this time, it won't take a freaking year. I know I suck! Hello and welcome to The Smartest Moron, where I'm finally back to reviewing the series that constantly has to force me to break these out.
You better break out the tissues gained from losing the lottery, folks, because this game doesn't pull its punches that much. Barring the massive amount of humor pushed into the game, of course. For those who don't know, Shadow Heart's Covenant is the sequel to the original, so if you haven't already, best to either play Shadow Hearts for yourself or check out my review from 2015, because I will be spoiling the hell out of it. Oh, don't worry, I'll wait. Finished? Good. So let's recap. In the previous game, Yuri was a harmonizer, a being capable of fusing with demonic souls to transform into a demon as well. He could also regenerate, but honestly that's a feature that never really goes into depth ever again. He tried to help a young woman by the name of Alice Elliott from falling into the hands of Albert Simon and Dehwai. During the events, he made plenty of allies and enemies, including doing battle with a curse inside of him from a group of masks. In order to save Yuri and make sure he didn't go berserk, a tad too late on one end, Alice ended up sacrificing herself to the curse and kept the knowledge hidden from Yuri, and the two eventually fell in love. After Albert and the godlike demon from space were defeated, Alice died on the way to see her mother because, well, curses. Now, according to the development, they originally did want to keep Yuri and Alice as a couple, but they still wanted to keep a dark tone, so decided that Alice should remain dead to maintain it.
Even back then, many invoked the power of Mephisto to undo any and all marriages, and all to just keep up the conflict, because marriage has no conflict whatsoever, right?
And surprise, interfering with fandom, well, that's not a popular decision, as fans hated it, and seeing Karen might replace Alice too. The response was just to play the game, and considering the massive spoilers, obviously they couldn't say much more. The hatred was understandable though, since this kind of plot point of killing a character's girlfriend usually has the girl themselves be forgotten, and so much focus on the man pain of the character. We saw that with Dante's Inferno, for the most part anyway, and you can definitely name some more examples. In fact, I don't really recall a lot of games that start with the couple and just evolving it from there, usually just ending it at that point. The only exception is maybe Mass Effect, though you still need to actually do the romance in order to advance it. We'll see how Covenant handles this angle, as it is one of the primary storylines for Yuri. There was a director's cut that added more stuff, but it never released outside of Japan. If you were hoping I'd talk about that, you're out of luck. The sad thing is that the game didn't really sell too well. So much so that Midway had no plans to translate from the New World, and that was left up to Xe to translate it. We'll eventually cover that game too, though probably won't be for a while since college is ending for me and I really need to go and find a job. But if I get enough requests in the comment sections, I'll consider things.
Believe it or not, in 2015 I actually did find out that Yuri and Karen were in another PS2 game. When I heard about it, I couldn't freaking wait for it, so how'd that go?
Wow, I really can't move my body.
What did you do, Nicole?
Perfume desigitaris, a type of muscle relaxant gas. You probably don't understand the logic, but you can feel the effects, no?
No, really. It's great. I can't tense my muscles at all.
I'm done with your nonsense. I'll take your Tengayo away.
Be careful. You'll probably get sick, just like when you eat rotten food off the ground.
It's okay, Uru. Just relax and let it go.
So, let's just review Shadow Heart's Covenant and pretend that never existed. Because no matter how much you ask, I am not reviewing it!
The presentation is one of the most noticeable differences. There are more 3D visuals utilized along with voice cutscenes, something the original game didn't have too much of. Even for a PS2 game, I love how the game looks and feels. Each hit feels satisfying to land, especially when it all works into a combo to hit the enemy for one last big hit. The combat system has also undergone some major changes. For starters, you can now have up to 4 party members at once. and while some party members still possess unique skills, they cannot be gained through leveling up this time. Rather, they are gained through quests or finding special items, like giving new gay cards to this guy for more dresses for Geppetto's doll, to learning new wrestling moves from Joachim's teacher. Yeah, I'll touch a bit more on the weirdness of this game later. Let's just say it surpasses Roger Bacon's weirdness with ease. Yet they can gain more skills through equipping crests. Crests contain spells, and depending on a character's dominance capacity, or DC, they can be either a very character, or by stacking multiple skills, can reduce the MP cost of that same skill. You can even customize the ring itself, depending on attack boost obtained from the ring spirit, and having Yuri mess with him in humorous ways, along with certain items that can expand the size of each section of the ring. With enough of those expansions, you can help fix some problems a character's ring has. You can even change the ring into 4 different styles, such as making it easier or harder for you, with benefits on both sides as well as disadvantages. For example, a technical ring offers more power, but the ring sections are made smaller. While the practice ring has a bigger section, it has no red sections for an attack boost. All these can be reused in case you feel like you made a mistake too. You can even give enemies status specs or lower some of their stats, though honestly the odds of doing that are fairly low. Random encounters can still happen, and I do admit, when ambushed, the difficulty can be amped up. Hell, early on I nearly died from these kind of fights. See, not only can enemies combo you, but the combat system also takes into account positioning on the field. Each spell can hit targets a certain way, meaning with the right timing, you can hit all enemies in an area and defeat them much faster. But the enemies can do the exact same thing too, and whoever is ambushed, those units are put close together. So enemies can wreck your shit if you aren't careful. I also love the transition to fights, and it's probably my favorite one. Although it keeps making me think Stone Cold Steve Austin is just gonna suddenly appear.
Stone Cold! One day you will be mine.
While a very good mechanic and thankfully buffs and healing are taken into account for this, you can't really position your units anywhere. Even if you just buff a unit or heal them, your character automatically moves to another space on the field. And when you hit units, despite being able to knock them in the air or push them away, you can't actually direct where your fighter will Tekken their ass to, so your melee fighters could potentially ruin setups. Knocking foes up or down is really only useful for setting up combos. Also, if you aren't good with the ring or mess up a combo with the wrong attack style, you can ruin your combos, leading to turns wasted. And much like the previous game, characters can still turn insane if their insanity points drop, making it all the more important to be careful. Thankfully, fusing into monsters with Yuri and newcomer Kurando is much easier this time, as you can switch on the fly with all the fusions available. Despite an earlier cutscene showing Yuri summoning monsters with the malice inside of him, there is no mechanic like the Grim Reaper coming for you in this game, though you do need to gain souls after each fight to upgrade each summon. The designs of the demons are really damn good, though the third forms are basically palette swaps of the second. And Dark Seraphim kinda reminds me of Devil Jin or Kazuya with his design and moveset. Adding to the game are familiar elements such as minigames, the treadmill ring to get Yuri's best weapon.
It was a pain in the ass to do in the first game, but I finally did in the second game. Now, lavish me! Worship me! Who keeps throwing biscuits?
And so much more stuff to do. One of the best things to do is Solomon's Key, as completing the chart can actually get crests to gain more spells, making them much more useful. Gameplay-wise, there is a ton of stuff to do and collect so long as you search for it, and it's all surprisingly fun. The sad part is that combat can be broken, and it's kinda even easier now too. See, the Mind's Eye makes a return, and given how you can customize the rings, with proper memorization, you can easily kill bosses before they even become a legitimate threat. At least if you are aware what statuses they have. Which I was since I used the guide, because instant death is still here, and it's a cheap-ass status ailment I will not stand for in video games. But making things even more broken is the fact that there's more than one Mind's Eye. I could have gotten 3 if I wanted, and nothing would have stopped me. There's really only 2 things I found hard. The ring speed, which was fixable, and navigating the dungeons. While there is thankfully a minimap this time, some dungeons can be difficult to navigate. Not overly, though I did have to refer to a guide on occasion since I need to find more important items that can be easily missed. They are sneakily hidden too, in places I never thought they would be in. Aside from the dumb instant death, it's probably best to only bust out the guide if you are either a completionist or stuck on a puzzle. Just having an overall map function or whatever would have helped fix this issue. not just a minimap, just so I can focus on the puzzles rather than stop being lost like I'm a Laguna from Final Fantasy VIII. Overall, I found it easier than Shadow Hearts 1 given the wider range of options. Of course, if you're not good with being more involved in RPGs, it will be harder, but that's what certain accessories are for. If anything, I found Shadow Hearts 2 a bit more friendly to the player, though I think the developers shouldn't have boasted how easy the game was. Wish there was at least a hard mode, though I suppose not having one of the slowdown accessories is a hard mode. Yeah, I don't think I can do that. My reflexes are dead when it comes to button timing. Why do you think we all get sick of frickin' QuickTime events? But hey, the combat is better than the original at least. But is the story better? Well, let's find that out right now.
Oh, that's not it. It's Roger Bacon! Yes, master philosopher, alchemist, and eternal love god! Oh!
Enough of that. We don't have time for your long-winded self-introductions.
As I said before, this game takes place after the bad ending, when Alice is dead. At least the game doesn't constantly remind me of things like he buried her along with his coat, symbolizing his transformation into his current state, and losing a part of himself. My mistake, but fail! Yet, you don't control Yuri at first. On the contrary, you control Karen, a soldier working for Germany who is investigating soldiers dying to a mysterious monster. Said monster is actually Yuri, who is protecting the village from those soldiers, though keeps her alive and saves her from a grenade. Likely because he cares about her well-being. Or not. Oh well. But seeing as how we need a conflict that actually poses a threat, Nikolai is brought in. And along with Karen, they gather the tools needed to eventually confront Yuri. Though as soon as they get to the guardian of the tool Nikolai needs, his true nature starts to slip through. Yep, as Karen, you have been helping the villain all this time. Not only that, but he was the one hunting down Albert Simon, and instead chooses to kill Yuri. Well, sir, where the hell were you all this time? Were you at the Bahamas or something? It's not like Albert Simon was hard to find. Cementing himself as a wrestling heel further, he manages to have his goons hold Yuri's friend hostage. Left with no other option, and really just not liking Nikolai, Yuri realizes it's time to duel. And so begins the epic confrontation between the hunter of Albert Simon and the god slayer known as Yuri. Yeah, Nikolai, the dude killed tons of godlike demons, and as we later see, is capable of destroying a friggin' airship with just the Amon form. What the hell do you think was going to happen going toe-to-toe against him? Actually, Nikolai ain't that stupid, and after nearly killing Karen for her intervention, puts a curse on Yuri, sealing away his fusion abilities. Thus begins the real plot of the game, as Yuri tries to do battle with the mistletoe curse, yeah that's what it's called, that has taken away all of his fusion abilities. So he succumbed to the same fate as Samus Aran and her power-ups, though Samus didn't have monsters spawning from her gear. Adding on to the curse is the fact that this will erase the memories of the user and eats the soul too. The only way to avoid that is by dying. Oh boy. So Yuri's girlfriend dies for his sake. Yuri's depressed over that and bottling in all those emotions really damn hard. That sacrifice is damn near rendered useless now given the curse. His memories of her are going to die as well, probably the only happy memories he has. He doesn't have any of his old friends to help him this time, and some assholes are threatening to destroy the world he works so hard to protect, and one of the reasons Alice sacrificed herself in the first place. This was the game that said, Yuri needed to suffer. From here, it's a matter of finding Nikolai and trying to stop him, all while trying to save Roger Bacon and keep Yuri from losing to the curse. Joining him are, quite honestly, one of the most random group of people. There's the uncle of Alice, Geppetto, who doesn't really do much aside from being with Yuri since Alice died, as did his daughter. Then there's Blanca the Wolf, who joins Yuri to get revenge on Nikolai for killing his owner. Surprisingly, he doesn't speak English like the giant cat we get later in the series, barring some scenes. Lucia is really only in this game for 2 reasons, as she barely does a damn thing. Then there's Joachim, who is Keith's brother, and Joachim. Really, this guy's a meme machine on his own, so here's just a taste of him.
Who's that?
When the forces of darkness descend, in the name of justice, this fist! In the name of truth, these muscles! In the name of honor, this blood! Ha ha! Champion of truth and justice, Grand Papillon, ready to fight all evildoers. If you can face the unfettered fury of my rippling muscles, then come on!
What? Huh?
I'm not even going to make a joke out of that. That just writes itself. Anastasia and Corrado are probably the most important party members, if only because they have a significant impact on the story during certain parts, and have a reason to stay in the party. Though even they kind of fade into the background when Yuri is back on the spotlight. And for the record, the game does take elements of real history, such as with Anastasia and Rasputin. If you're wondering why I'm not commenting on this or anything, that's because Shadow Hearts wipes its ass with history books. Seriously, we have Roger Bacon building a freaking airship. We have freaking robots and technology that should not exist in this time period. We have a wrestling ring that ascends to the freaking sky with a total of 100 rings. You know, combined with how most of these enemies move, including those claw guys and Yuri's attack motion as Amon, I wouldn't be surprised if they stole some of this from a rejected episode of Power Rangers. One major complaint I have is extremely similar to that of the last story, though reversed. Most of the other party members aren't really that compelling. Now, most are perfectly fine and serve as good comedic roles, or do serve a good purpose in being in the plot, but feel heavily disconnected from the plot at times as well. Lucia in particular stands out for doing absolutely nothing aside from luring the heroes into traps early on. Briefly in the torture section, she seems to have some sort of conflict with Veronica, but that never goes anywhere sadly. Hell, some characters aside from Karen and Yuri don't even appear in cutscenes, in situations where they could have easily intervened. Nor are they really gone into too much depth with Yuri. Hell, most of them don't even interact with Yuri that well. For example, it's revealed that Corrado is related to Yuri, but the two hardly do anything together to strengthen their bond. At this point, I would have loved to see a returning character or two to get their thoughts on the situation with Yuri and actually help out. I actually take back any negatives I had about the previous cast, barring Keith, because at least they had their own plots to follow in the story, and had some pretty good moments. Sadly, we are stuck with small cameos at best and a tad hard to find too. Save for Kato, who does play a major role, and I'll talk about him later. For now, just know that he's a dude I forgot to mention the last time because I thought he wouldn't show up in the next game. And this is why you research, kids. The other first half of the game is okay. Nothing outstandingly bad, and the focus on Yuri is fairly okay, as we see him adjust without Alice. Sadly, Nikolai and his goons lack the same kind of tension even Dehwai could give. Though that might be because Alice was in danger back then and she was a likable hero. And even when they are threatening, their own danger is cut pretty damn short eventually when Yuri gains the ability to curb stomp them. Although this does lead to some pretty good moments. Overall, the story is fairly sound, but because so much of it is focused on Yuri and Kato in the latter half, you really need to play the original to get the most out of this game. Because honestly, the new characters alone cannot save this game. At least if you're looking for a good narrative. Batshit insanity and crazy fighting though? Oh hell yeah, they deliver on that. Seriously, Joachim alone is responsible for some of the dumbest and funniest moments, so he's easily a step above his brother Keith at least. And I'll explain why some of this absurdity and comedy is greatly needed in the spoiler section, so how about we dive off into that now.
What kind of an idiot would fall for your stupid little trick?
Oh.
I'll kill you for that!
Let's address the big elephant in the room, the seeming replacement for Alice, Karen. As I said before, this caused a lot of backlash, and it's easy to see why. Karen seems like a romance option, with how often Yuri tries to be a pervert for her, and how she loves him. For no defined reason. Yeah, Karen isn't the best character. Now she does help serve as the character to snap the group back in action, which is good given the large amount of crazies, but she isn't quite that active either. Being a soldier, I expected someone more strict and strong. Maybe not lightning or squall levels of hard ass, but something to differentiate her from Alice. Maybe as someone who's already used to some of this stuff. Even then, we have characters who are used to demons and stuff, and they're usually unprepared as well, so it's not like she will come off as a Mary Sue. Instead, she's turned into the very stereotypical character I see all the damn time, and a hollow one at that. I don't hate her, but I don't like her. I just feel nothing really, especially when plots she has are filled with nothing as well. Take Nikolai for instance. We get the idea that she loves Yuri from this dream sequence, though we don't know why. Then we get Nikolai confessing his love and being rejected. Well, at least him being rejected is clearly understandable, and he does this because, well, I'm assuming insanity with his fusion monster. Either way, it doesn't really add anything to either character. Especially to Nikolai, who doesn't really have anything to make him sympathetic, aside from maybe a sad backstory that is once again told to us. He's definitely no Albert Simon. The best he does is basically ruin Yuri and Kato's life, but more on that later. In short, I think Karen's role likely could have been spread amongst each and every single one of the characters, to give them something more to do, rather than solely rely on side quests to give them one last thing to do. Compare that to Alice, who, even while dead, manages to help Yuri in the final hours of the game more than Karen ever could. Hell, Karen sometimes just stands there and does nothing while stuff happens. Though to be fair, that is common and Lucia does it too. That's not really a good defense though. And don't get me started on the ending.
So in order to save one character, we had to destroy another character. That balances things out, right? No, it doesn't.
Still, I don't hate Karen. I just really don't care as much, but at least she is doing something in the plot. She at least has some clear defined role. Not a very good one, but defined. And plus she still contributes way more than Lucia. Okay, back on track. Let's focus primarily on Yuri, Kato, and the overall theme of happiness, which seems odd considering the amount of depressing bullshit Kato and Yuri endure. Though when you look at everything else not dealing with death, it's a bit, well, silly is not even a word to describe it. There are times where I was confounded by the sheer absurdity of everything, from the enemies to even the situation, finding it even more ridiculous than the previous game, and how some characters didn't even treat the situation seriously. The Man Festival is a prime example. As you fight near-naked men with so many ass shots, I thought I was playing a male version of Senran Kagura, and then straight up man sex in the finale with some of the most ridiculous shit I have ever seen in a frickin' video game. It is an extra quest though, and even then you could still have Joachim learn from his teacher for some really weird-ass wrestling moves. You could say this is where stuff like character development just vanished, as they only ever have it during their individual final quests or getting their ultimate gear, or maybe when they're introduced. However, Roger honestly has a damn good reason why the humor was so damn important to the plot.
It's difficult to live a life without having any regrets. I've been alive for 700 years, and I've spent most of that time regretting. That's right, laugh. Laugh and just go on. That's the best thing to do. Then you can look back at even the saddest things and smile.
This game is freaking full of people dying, and Yuri and Kato have some damn sad stuff, among other characters in general. If Yuri was simply a character focused on pain, it would detract from the fun Yuri we know, the Yuri we want to see and support. It would basically turn Yuri into a boring character and into a stereotype we are sick and tired of seeing. Or at least I thought we were tired of seeing. Yuri uses humor and his sarcasm to deflect whatever trauma he has, as seen in the first game when he was a bit of an asshole. The same thing happens in this game too, though he is obviously far more depressed, just not willing to let anyone else see him cry, at least until he fails to bring Alice back to life. When someone dies, it's a really shitty feeling, and I speak from experience with 2015. And I can only imagine how much it hurts when you lose the one person you love. Everyone in the game is trying to do what makes them happy, and has quests centered around that. With Karen, outside of Yuri, it's mostly helping people find peace, like with the ghosts. Anastasia has her family and being with Corando. Joachim being the ultimate wrestler, you pretty much get the idea. There are some exceptions I feel, though mainly because I didn't quite understand the character enough. Now, for something like Spec Ops The Line, it works because the game is short enough and focuses intensely on the issue. It kinda works in Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne for the same reason, but even that injected humor at some points. Shadow Heart's Covenant is 2 discs and goes for around 40 hours or more. If I had to deal with a character who was only depressed with no development, it wouldn't be fun and would make me wonder why Alice even saved Yuri if he was just gonna be like this. It's why I don't really hate the other side characters either with all this ridiculous crap. Not even Karen. Even the villains can provide some comedy, like when Yuri teases Lenny.
Where is he?
I can't tell you.
'Cause you don't know?
I know all right.
Then where?
I'm not saying.
I knew it. You got no idea.
I told you, you little punk. I do know.
Right.
Really? I do know, really.
Yeah, right.
It's true. He's in Italy. Florence, Italy. Oh.
Yuri's focus is finding something to do with his life. Early in the game, we saw him protecting a village and a little girl, but he failed at that, so decided on getting revenge as a reason to keep going. Though as the plot goes on, the little girl in his soul begins to wonder if that's actually the real reason. And if so, well, that's not exactly making him happy. And as we discussed earlier, Yuri has very little reasons to be happy. It's amazing he hasn't snapped while in demon form and just tore everything apart. Once that curse hits, everything about him has regressed. No longer was he competent when summoning demons, and there were far less jokes too. And even as he had victory in his grasp, something always came to absolutely ruin it, whether it was Rasputin or even his friend Kato. And now I gotta stop because, well, I gotta explain Kato. The game thankfully gives enough info, so let's recap using some past scenes from the first game. Kato and his superior, Kawashima, were working for the same Ari Yuri's dad worked in. They were initially supposed to spy on Yuri's group, even trying to capture Alice to stop Dehwai. This of course backfired, and she and Kato eventually trusted Yuri to do the right thing. Eventually the two sides learned to get along with one another, and Kawashima wished she could be just as free as he was. Though she ended up dying thanks to Ishimura, leaving Kato depressed and now in this game, currently working for Ishimura. In reality, he's just using the guy. That and well, trying to attack the entire frickin' Japan military on your own with no demonic powers at that point, yeah, that's kinda stupid. Kato ended up with not only some power to rival Yuri at times, but gained enough influence to increase his own rank, and somehow gained permission to resurrect dead bodies and use them as his own personal squad, along with armored soldiers and advanced weaponry.
Whipping your ass with history! Believe it or not, this actually feels good. No wonder companies do this.
Okay, with the three goons, he did use magic, though some kind of science and magic was involved, especially with the high-tech facility. He was even able to bring back Kawashima, though not her soul, making him the only person to use the Emigre manuscript and not turn into a monster. Physically, at least. And remember what happened the last time someone used that in Kodelka. Yeah, this new path Kato is on, it kinda turns him into an asshole, whereas in the first game, he was radically different. Kawashima's death really did change him a lot, making him more selfish and, well, more of an asshole, even to the frickin' three goons he has. And sometimes for not really a good reason either. Seriously, what the hell was your plan in containing that friggin' demon? Though a chance of happiness at least presented itself in Oka, the new woman he created from Kawashima's body, since she felt some kind of attraction to him, though sadly it's not really fleshed out in the game. And granted, more scenes would have been nice to establish outside of random falling in love, and the mutant apes actually respecting Kato. And that's honestly the biggest flaw with Kato's character and arc, and could have been done better. Let's see that bond outside of being master and, well, loyal minion. That way the impact of Oka's death can hit us more. Still, her death does push Kato even more over the edge, resulting as him as the final villain. Of course, I had the natural, mature reaction you have come to expect from me.
Go screw yourself, game! How dare you! How dare you make me feel this way! One dick kick in the friggin' heart for Yuri, and now friggin' Kato? Why must you make me feel? Why must you make me feel? Why?
There is a strange parallel between Yuri and Kato, as they are two people who are ultimately trying to find a purpose to keep on going, and are drawn to two different paths. They are friends, yet you can see their goals conflicting as soon as Yuri defeats Nikolai, and Kato takes Nikolai, and Kato begins to screw things up royally because someone has to do something stupid. Though to be fair, it was Professor Hojo who did it. No, damn it, not him, not that creepy asshole. It's this creepy asshole. Yuri wants to find a purpose to make Alice's sacrifice for him worth it, to protect the world she loves so much after he realizes revenge isn't exactly working out. And that plan isn't going so well when he's going to lose his memories and die. Kato, on the other hand, tried to regain what he wanted, manipulating people to do so, people of the friggin' government, and lost it all in just a blink of an eye. They are both trying to find something and always friggin' lose it, and it definitely hurts to see. and that's when the ending itself comes up, when Yuri has to ultimately choose his own way of living with this curse. Which he kinda has no choice, since the final battle Kato has with the group kinda lacks an escape route, save for thinking of going to where you are happiest. You know, even in a game with a bit of man-ass shown in my face, that's a bit much, but whatever. Living will cause him to lose all of his memories, while dying will negate the curse. But, well, that's still dying. Both options suck, no doubt, and it's a fairly hard thing to decide. One offers an unknown future and the death of your past self, while the other ensures that you will always remember the one you love and what makes you happy. I know some would definitely choose the former, and it's understandable. Hell, I have a giant fear of death myself, the mere concept making me frickin' freeze up. But I think losing your memory is probably harmful to Yuri's character, since it's just horrifying. It's probably the worst way to go, serving as an insult to those that sacrificed everything to make sure you lived. At least to me anyway, and to Yuri I assume, since I chose this option. If this were a game about letting go, yeah, losing the memories would make sense. Except it wasn't, making it the weaker choice for me, and as a bad ending. Again, this is a very tricky topic made for debate, despite some problems, and I appreciate that aspect of it. Even then, if he loses his memories, I could see some more potential problems. Mainly because he possesses several devils within his heart. Some kinda inevitable danger has to come from that. But like I said, I chose and prefer the good ending, so let's see that then, shall we? Regardless of the ending though, Yuri and the gang defeat Kato, who is nowhere near as strong as that god alien thingy from the first game. Considering events and his desire to change the future, and the whole needing to find someplace to be happy to escape this dark world, why didn't he just do that? Well, outside of wanting to change the world from 100 years back in time, there's a reason he wanted Yuri to fight him, to stop him. Kato knew it was something Yuri wasn't gonna allow, and Kato couldn't stop himself given his strong ambition. If nothing else, it was a battle of their willpower. They both ultimately lost the people they loved, but who had the better plan? Hell, Kato even gave Yuri the emigre manuscript to try and bring back Alice, maybe to give him something to fight for all over again. I'm not saying Kato was entirely good doing all of this, but that possibility is presented given all the other evidence in both this game and the last. It's certainly a damn sad ending given what they both went through, in order to fulfill one last thing to make their lives worth something. And thus begins everyone trying to find a place that makes them happy. And it's easily seen, such as Geppetto with his daughter, Blanca and the young girl he saved, Corando and Anastasia together. Yeah, that still comes off a bit of left field for me since their development into a couple was never really gone in depth, but okay, whatever. And what does Karen get? How about ending up as an amnesiac, becoming Yuri's mother as she meets Yuri's father?
Wow, that's creepy. It's even creepier when you realize that Yuri was actually kinda hitting on her, or at least being pervy to her.
Still, Yuri promises that he'll see Karen one day again, only to lie to her and dies because of... I don't know, the land is being a dick, I guess. Who knows? The point is that dying allows him to remember Alice no matter what, but Alice's soul ain't having none of that shit. Once again, she rescues him from despair, and then he's taken back to a familiar area. Yeah, he's been taken back through frickin' time. I normally question this more, but I'm just gonna assume because his soul was still in that, place or whatever, he was able to find his happiness by going back to the moment where he would meet Alice. Granted, you'd think Kato would be able to do the same thing since he died too.
Look, just be happy that the two are actually probably gonna be together, or there's at least some kind of friggin' chance to it, because I am running out of tissues here!
And because there will no doubt be people who say something about this, let's get this out of the way. I hear the bad ending of Shadow Hearts is canon based on what the developer said in an interview in a Japanese article. Unfortunately, I cannot find that proof despite what everyone says, and it really doesn't mesh well with the next Shadow Hearts game at all. Without any decisive evidence, I cannot believe the bad ending is canon. It goes against Yuri's development. Now, some people can argue how going back in time was, well, still dumb, since he's just gonna be in a never-ending loop, and I would normally agree, save for one thing: the good ending of Shadow Hearts. Hell, Yuri can even gain the Seraphic Radiance along with helping Alice defeat the curse inside of him. The game has that chance of happening. And it's even more unlikely that Nikolai can give Yuri the Mistletoe curse, especially with the Seraphic Radiance far exceeding Amon's power, let alone anything Rasputin and Nikolai could pull out, let alone Kato. Yuri's powers aside, Alice being there for the events could also help too since, well, she's better at talking to people than Yuri.
You amuse me, little ants. Do you really think you can defeat me?
What do you think I'm here for? Bite me.
No, you will bite me.
Yeah, I think that proves my point. But naturally, I don't feel good leaving the series end this way without some kind of proper conclusion. So, I'm going to do the most logical thing possible.
I'm gonna beat the first game all over again. Why? Because I want to see these two freaking happy, and I'm gonna aim for that freaking good ending. So get ready, game. I'm gonna punch you harder than you punched me in the freaking feels. For the ship!
As the warlock said in the end, even if an age of winter comes bringing the harshest hardships, I intend to live on with my new family.
We did it, guys. I managed to beat Shadowheart's 30 or 40 hours, just rushed through everything, ignoring my school assignments, and we did it. Even though I could have used that time to just play and review Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne like I wanted to, and just go to conclusion while I just sit here questioning my life.
Don't you love my golden glow?
So, overall, how does the game hold up? Well, despite some problems I have with the plot and the characters, I still really like Covenant.
The game improves marvelously over the presentation and combat from the previous game, with each hit feeling solid with spectacular looking transformations and spells. It's sadly a bit easier than the previous game, though the puzzles still remain a challenge. Wish I could get a damn map though. And the story hits a home run for me when it comes to Yuri's character development, exploring something that writers often just ignore in favor of just creating drama. It's great to see Alice's death wasn't going to be in vain, and see how Yuri handles it. Of course, there are still problems with the narrative. The main interesting angle takes a long as hell time to build up, leading to either okay or uninteresting plot lines since the other characters are not really gone in depth. Just be sure to play Shadow Hearts 1 before ever tackling this to get the absolute experience. Otherwise, you may end up a bit confused.
I'm the smartest moron, and, well, with Yuri's journey over, it's only fair that we look at another demonic hero. Until next time.